Well. We're back at it again, people. Another reaction video. This time we're talking about, again, Doberman Planet. It's amazing how he, he's a good dude. I like him. He have some very good pointers on stuff. But when it comes to the protection portion of it and reading dogs and trying to say what the dogs are built for, but his dogs don't do what they're built for, you got to start questioning some of the things he say, because you can't take everything what everybody say gospel. So I saw this video about a couple of weeks ago. I've been wanting to do a reaction video on it because I would say 50% of the stuff he said was total BS because he just didn't know. And I've been doing my research. Well, the research has been coming to me. I haven't even looked it up, and I think this guy lives in Northern California. Nevertheless, this episode is called Doberman Protection Training, the pros and the cons. And it's on Doberman Planet, and I had to watch it a couple of times to make sure that, did he really say that? Did he really just do that right there? So I'm going to break it down clip by clip and tell you my perspective. I consider myself a Doberman expert. However, I don't know everything. I'm not a canine trainer, and I'm not a certified decoy, but I do know how to train my dogs. I do know how to do decoy work, portions of it, but I'm not an expert. So without any delay, let's get into it. Let me go here. Here we go.
Okay, be honest with me for a minute. You have fantasized a time or two about having a Doberman who could,
Hold on. Let me do this one. Do this one there, right there. I'm getting used to it, man. Don't bite my fucking head off. Here we go. It's just me doing this.
Really kick ass and take names along the way, haven't you?
This is a great intro.
Okay, but how realistic is this really? Well, you are starting off with the world's only breed of dog that is developed for the primary purpose of personal protection of humans. From the very beginning, this was the only breed of dog for that purpose. So you got a good starting point. But now, should you go out and get your dog trained in personal protection also? Well, that's what we're going to find out today in this video.
Now, understand this. I think his name is Trevor. I don't know what his name is, but let's say Doberman Planet guy. He got a Doberman because of the possibly aesthetics, the stigma, the ability, the potential to protect personally, which includes family. So you go out and you buy a Dodge Hellcat. Now you know it has the ability to go 180, 170 miles an hour, 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, whatever it may be, 707 horses, unless you get the jailbreak. So you know what you're getting, but you don't want what you're getting to do what it's made to do. Let's proceed. Pros and cons.
Oh, I know you thought about this a time or two. Well, first, I think it's important we talk about the differences between participating in bite sports and getting your dog protection trained.
Isn't me, but he's always having that fake fireplace going in the background.
Two very different things, but oftentimes these terms are used interchangeably when really they are very different. So what is protection training? Well, this is usually the process of you finding a company to train your dog or to provide you with a fully trained protection dog that will protect you, your family, or your property. Now, these dogs are usually picked by these companies, trained, and then sold once they're fully trained.
He's wrong and he's right. Actually, he's wrong. Most personal protection canine trainers don't have a plethora of dogs to sell you. It's like, oh, I can get you a personal protection dog trained, but it's going to be a shepherd. You don't have no option. You got a choice, but you don't have no option. Choice to either buy it or not. But most personal protection canine trainers are also obedience canine trainers. And they would probably prefer to train yours versus sell you one if they have one. Because, selling 100% package trained dogs are far and few for trainers. Most canine trainers want that monthly residual. And it's more to it than that. So no, he's wrong about that. I know several trainers, especially up in his area, they don't have protection trained dogs sitting on shelves ready to go, but they will train your dog, but they will test your dog to see if he's have the tools to possibly be a protection trained dog. Nothing's guaranteed. And every step is a test. Every phase is a test. Pressure will be applied.
Trained almost or very rarely will these companies agree to take your personal dog that you bring to them and protection train that dog. That is very rare. But if you can find a company that'll do that, they'll also very often run your dog through these tests and these screening processes, and very well may eliminate your dog if they don't think that your dog is a suitable fit for protection training. But the goal is protection training is to train the dog to subdue an attacker, to bark, to keep them at bay. They train them a long list of behaviors. They want the dog to operate somewhat autonomously, but also in a versatile number of situations, and also with a lot of control also from the owner as well. And verbal control is a big portion of that. So that is what protection training really usually encompasses. Okay. So
protection, I've always tell people this, and I will say it until I'm dead. I truly believe personal protection is really obedience training. Protection training is really obedience training. And I say this is because during the protection phase, you put these dogs through several scenarios, several life expected scenarios, and he is supposed to respond or not respond based on what he is told what to do or what not to do. If you put a dog that's watered down in obedience only, and you never flip on that proverbial switch, when that switch is flipped, do you know how to turn it off? Saw a video K9 Matt posted where these two people that had pit bulls in a Petco or PetSmart store, and the pits were locked on each other's bottom jaws. And the owners had these dogs on a harness like you had control of the dog. You never have control of the dog on a harness. Not a pit, not a medium or large size dog. They are allowing you to come along for the ride, but you don't have complete 100% control of their neck or their mouth at all. So they didn't know that they couldn't. The only way to let those dogs break loose is you got to hold them up by their collar and choke them out. When they lose wind or air, they will let go. Until then, they're going to lock on because they're going to breathe through their nose as they've been trained to do, inherently so.
So what are bite sports? Well, the most popular bite sport is IGP, which is formerly known as IPO or Schutzhund, and it's exactly that. It's a sport. It's where a lot of owners get together. They do bring their own dogs. They get to know one each other. They have frequent meetings. It's a heavy time commitment from the owners. But A lot of Doberman owners really love this. They train their dogs to compete.
I love
It
that
involves
sport.
some bite stuff work as well, but it also involves other training and tracking and stuff like that. But it's to get their dog titled, and they get different levels of recognition the higher up they go in this sport. Now, the focus of IGP isn't just on bite work. It actually has three main phases for this sport: tracking, obedience, and protection. In the tracking stage, the dog is expected to track a subject or follow a scent from a subject and recover certain articles left behind by that subject along the way. And how well they do that is graded. And then there's obedience. That's this next phase. And that phase really tracks and gauges how well the dog responds to their owner, how quickly and accurately they follow the owner's commands. And then finally, there's the protection phase. And
Now, this guy, believe it or not, people, he's using a lot of clips from my dogs. That is Adrian, who is handling the dog. And that's one of my dogs, if not somebody who has dogs from my camp. And that guy on the far right, over, far left over here is Yachty. And that's Adrian, right? So it's the best you can do is pull clips from us. Okay, let's play with it.
And the protection phase is where a lot of the bite work happens. It's where they need to keep an aggressor at bay. They need to find a hidden person or a decoy. They also need to subdue a fleeing decoy. And this is where the bite work actually happens right there. But the dog needs to pass all three of these phases.
He's missing something during the protection phase. You ever thought about dumbbell work?
In order to get titled in IGP. Now you can see why bite sports and protection training are often confused. Just remember, bite sports are a sport. It's an event. You're there for the experience. You bring your own dog to see what your dog is made of and to train your dog and try to get better at it and earn recognition through various titles.
Did he say bite sport and protection sport? Let me see. Did he say that again?
To keep an aggressor at bay, they need to find a hidden person or a decoy. They also need to subdue a fleeing decoy. And this is where the bite work actually happens right there. But the dog needs to pass all three of these phases in order to get titled in IGP. Now you can see why bite sports and protection training are often confused. Just remember
bite sport and protection training. Bite sport. IGP is a protection sport. Mondial is a protection sport. PSA is a protection sport. Okay. Let's proceed.
Remember, bite sports are a sport. It's an event. You're there for the experience. You bring your own dog to see what your dog is made of and to train your dog and try to get better at it and earn recognition through various titles along the way. Protection training is where you hire a...
I just want to show you guys a little something. Just it has nothing to do with him, what he's saying. Look at this.
Now you can see why bite sports and protection training are often confused. Just remember, bite sports are a sport. It's an event. You're there for the experience. You bring your own dog.
Now look how this dog runs into the blind. He just sits there. He's not. The dog he's been burnt out, or he is showing no excitement when he's doing the bark and hold. I'm kind of an expert at the bark and hold. Now, it's got to have that rhythm. Herf, 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 herf. That's what they love. That's what the judge loves. But look at this guy. Look at this dog when he does his bark and hold. Check this out.
To see what your dog is made of and to train your dog and try to get better at it and earn recognition through various titles along the way. Protection training is where you hire a company to either train your dog or to provide you with a fully trained dog.
Step into a Slim Jim.
The purpose is simply to be as versatile as possible and protect you in as many situations as possible.
Look at this guy right here, man.
We're talking about the pros and cons of protection training specifically. So first up, the pros of protection training.
Here we go.
Doberman. Well, the first one, and probably the primary one that most people go for, is just simply peace of mind. If you know your dog has been fully trained and has proven themselves to be able to protect you.
That's some more videos of our dogs. This is from my guys, Adrian Santano's protection club. God, you can't make this up. And obviously, there's not a lot of videos out there showing it. Adrian. So yeah, because Adrian's club It's called it's called SoCal All Breed Ringers. Yeah, so that's Adrian Santana. That's my guy.
Your family or your property, it provides a lot of people with a real sense of security and peace of mind. Another pro is just simply building your bond with your dog a little bit tighter. Now, it depends whether or not it's a protection training company where you're heavily involved in the training or you just get a completed dog. But
there's more videos of our Doberman at that field behind Granger in Compton. That's Yachty, and that's Adrian. They pulling all of our shit up in here. This sport is called French ring, by the way.
But either way, there's going to be ongoing trainings you'll probably need to keep up with, which will help build your bond deeper and deeper with your dog. Another pro is that there's just more confidence in your Doberman's abilities if they're protection trained.
That's more videos of our dog doing bite work, doing protection sport training. That's Adrian's wife that was back there releasing the dog. This guy is using all of our videos for his shit.
Seeing the dog in action, you know what they're capable of doing. And really that probably feeds more into that peace of mind as well. But you're just really confident in what your dog can do.
And that's Adrian.
There's no question there and no what if scenarios that are going on in your mind. Next up, the drawbacks of getting your dog protection trained. Now, this is a lot of what makes...
This is where me and him are going to disagree.
It's so controversial to do this. The first one is liability. And we'll talk more about this in a minute, but really if your dog is protection trained and bites somebody, there's definitely some potential for increased liability there as well.
This guy is clueless. A dog is a liability anyway. He will bite whether you have a dog will either bite out of anger or out of fear, or out of defense, out of aggression. There's no cons to it. Again, people, protection training is really obedience training. You are exposing your male or your female dog to different scenarios on how to respond. It's no different than you shooting 1,000 fucking free throws in practice when you're playing basketball. You're not going to shoot 1,000 free throws in a game, but you shoot 1,000 free throws to practice. So when you go to the game, it feels normal. You're comfortable. Your form is right. Your release at your fingertips are just right. The wrist flicks like that or like this. Practice for the possible inevitable.
The next one is that it can be very expensive. A fully trained protection dog can cost anywhere between $30,000 to $80,000.
30 to 80 if you want to get fucked out of some money. Because show me somebody who's selling a protection trained dog for 80 grand. Now, you know, when you do personal protection training or protection sport, from start to finish, it may take you about 1.5 years, 2 years, depending on the age of the dog, depending on the maturity level of the dog. Especially with females, they mature a lot quicker than male dogs. I know my male boys, they're still acting like puppies at 2 years of age. So you're going to spend in the teens for starters, right? In the teens. So just know that. The 80 grand, shit. Where are you in San Francisco?
With the average cost being $50,000. Sometimes you can find them for as low as $10,000 or $12,000. But if you go and get
these are our dogs again,
trained, this may certainly be cheaper.
That's at Pete Medinasville, I think.
Before, it may be very hard to find a company willing to train your own dog. The next downside is there is a substantial time commitment involved as well. And this even goes if you buy a completed, already finished and trained protection dog. You're still going to have to go through some training yourself and learn how to handle that dog. And there will likely be some ongoing protection training your dog.
Now, I agree with him with that. People who do a lot of board and train, that means you drop your dog off at the trainer and he is dialed in, but you never go to any of the trainings to figure out how the handler wants you to handle the dog, because really sometimes, no, not really. Training a dog is really training the owner how to administer the commands with authority, with respect, and with results. So yeah, you got to do some commitment, your personal commitment, yes.
Dog should go and get refreshers on as time goes by, probably for the life of the dog. Another downside is an unintended bite risk. Now, this is argued heavily.
I totally disagree with him. It's total bullshit. Again, you're exposing your dog to a lot of scenarios, and he was said in the explanation, you got to expose your dog. You got to socialize your dog. Now, socializing on different levels may hurt the protection training, and it may help the protection training. If you over socialize your dog, he's going to probably think that everybody's his friend.
As to whether or not protection dogs are more likely to bite, say, family members, or if they're less likely. But I think it's fair to say if your dog knows how to bite, is confident in biting, and has bitten many times before, even in these controlled settings, it may increase the chances that they may bite again, and hopefully it's not someone that they're not meant to bite. Also, there's a potential for unmet expectations. A lot of people buy these protection dogs, they throw all the money in the world at it, and they expect the dog to operate like a robot or complete.
Now, I agree the expectations, they're too high. If I was to tell you how many dogs I go through to get the right dog that can take 80 to 90% of the training, then you'll be shocked. A lot of people have these high expectations. Oh, he's a Doberman. He's champion bloodline. Champion bloodline in what? Show lines? You talking about their great-grandparents? Back that far, that's less than 10% of the damn dog. But there are expectations. But if you get a good trainer who won't sandbag you, Google that shit, then you will know within a very short period of time if your dog is even cut out for protection training. So, yeah, expectation. That's going to get you every time. Keep an open mind, but don't have high expectations.
Completely on its own with no input from their owner, and that's simply not the case. Now let's talk real quick about the liability side of this, and because there are some significant things to consider. Now remember, I'm not a lawyer. I just train dogs and help people raise their Dobermans. But while researching this video, I did learn there are many examples of dogs that were protection trained or dogs that participated in bite sports, mauling and killing people, sometimes kids, and their owners facing second-degree murder charges. That does happen. I found some examples of that. I will put a link to one article.
So people, most of the dogs that do the mauling and killing of people and kids, of dogs who have no fucking training, they just wilding out. They're just wilding out. So he needs to do his research on that one a little bit more, and don't drink the Kool-Aid on that one.
In the description down below that has some of these examples, but it does appear that these owners do face some increased liability if their dog does do something like this. So yes, it does appear that if you train your dog to bite another human being, that could be evidence against you in court if the dog does go out and bite someone they shouldn't. And this can even be the case if you only participate in bite sports and don't exactly have your dog officially protection trained. What about me personally? Would I get my dog protection trained? Well, I wouldn't personally, no, because I mean, well, first of all, it's already a Doberman pinscher. They already have those instincts to protect their family as it is. And
hey, bro, newsflash: the Dobermans today, they're not protecting shit. They'll bark. They've been alarmed, but a lot of Dobermans are washed the fuck up. This is not the 1978 Dobermans, the ones that chased your ass off the grass, out of the yard. Not the same. Um, he doesn't want his dog's protection trained because somebody's put in his ear that if you turn that switch on, you can't turn it off. Well, these dogs are animals at the end of the day, and they don't need anything to flip them on. All they need to have is a target. So he needs to stop that, man. It's really stop the madness with that bullshit.
A lot of people argue, well, why not develop those instincts? I totally agree with that. However, for a lot of the downsides we discussed, the liability issue is a big one. You're leaving potentially the choice of deadly force and when to employ that deadly force to a dog in a lot of ways. And I think there are a lot better ways. Personally, for me to protect me and my family, I will rely on the Doberman's instincts alone to slow down or delay an attacker. And I think that is actually a pretty solid bet from what I've seen from the Doberman breed in general. So for me personally, it's just not for me. But again, that's just my opinion. What about bite sports? Would I get involved?
So it's almost like having another car scenario. You bought a Corvette, knowing what the ability of a Corvette can do on an open highway, but you just want to ride it like it's a horse, like you just want to gallop around town. You bought a Corvette because Corvette is related to the word speed. You bought a Doberman because it's related to the word protection. Make it make sense.
In bite sports with my dog? Well, I would certainly be a lot more likely to get involved with that. It just seems like a cool sport. Like these people go and they bring their dogs, they see what their dogs are made of, they try to earn higher and higher, better titles. I think it seems like a really cool event. The liability thing still does concern me a little bit. And if I wasn't a dad and I had free time and I was looking for a new sport to get involved in, I may certainly consider this. But where I am right now, it's not something that I would consider for myself personally. But I can certainly see how a lot of people are really into these bite sports and where the fun aspect of that really comes from. So
I love that whoever's doing this, they are training inside of a body shop. Pretty cool.
Really cool event. The liability thing still does concern me a little bit. And if I wasn't a dad and I had free time and I was looking for a new sport to get involved in, I may certainly consider this. But where I am right now, it's not something that I would consider for myself personally. But I can certainly see how a lot of people are really into these bite sports and where the fun aspect of that really comes from. So what would I personally do if I wanted to make sure my Doberman would step up and protect my family if it ever came down to it and I wasn't interested in bite sports or protection training? Well, for me personally, I'd focus on two things. Number one, I'd focus on increased socialization. You're already starting out with a Doberman, the world's best personal protector and the only breed of dog ever created for that sole purpose. So you got a great starting point. If you just help your dog read what situations are normal and what are potentially dangerous or scary situations, you can help them be a much better protector for your family. The second thing I would do is I'd focus on building confidence in my dog. The more confident my dog is, the more likely the dog is to step up and use their natural instincts, which is to protect the family.
Protect how? This is the same guy that ran his dog off in the backyard. You need to, yes, socialization is important, but with so much socialization, your dog may have the forgiven syndrome that everybody's his pal. I don't want the one thing that's going to protect my home and my property while I'm asleep at 2 a.m. to want to lick a burglar to death. I don't know. Again, people, I have no personal problem with him. Is that he's putting out these opinions that the masses are listening to, and this is only his experience. Nobody really knows 100% certain why he never did any protection sport. And I never see him really doing the obedience work. I see him do a lot of tricks with his dog. He said he's a trainer of Dobermans. I never heard of it, possibly so.
So regardless of whether or not you decide to get your dog protection trained or you want to do bite sports or nothing at all, definitely at least make sure your dog gets some exercise. It's incredibly good for Dobermans. It keeps them happy and healthy, and your life so much easier Trust me, they'll be way more manageable if your dog is exercised. A great way to do that is get some great activity ideas. You can do that by going to DobermanPlanet.com/activity ideas. And there you'll find just a huge long list of a ton of great activity ideas that Doberman owners use.
So people, this is basically trying to tell you guys that, when you get a Doberman or get a dog or get a specific type of breed that was designed or created or manipulated to do a certain thing, understand it's probably going to want to do that certain thing. There's a reason why a lot of people get pits. There's a reason why a lot of people get Cane Corsos. And there's a reason why people are getting Frenchies. So understand what you're getting and make the cognitive decision to make the right choice, but stimulate your Doberman. Get them in a protection sport. Get them in an active sport, dock diving, course luring, barn hunting. But you gotta tire his ass out. To me, it seemed like his Dobermans are just great pets. And that may work for him, but it ain't gonna work for me, and it probably won't work for a lot of people. So again, people, as I always say at the end of my show, be resilient, but be responsible. Until next time.